It is a little bit after 4. Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the 40th CALLERLAB Convention in Cary, North Carolina. Today is March the 26th, 2013, and this is the Laptop Lane. I am Bill Harrison, your moderator, and your panelist today is Wayne Morrow, right here. Wade, sorry. And Barry Johnson over here. Wade's from Lawrence, Kansas, and 4 years of calling. Barry is from Chicago, Illinois, 7 years of calling. Which one of you all would like to start off? Okay. Wade's going to start, but before we go any further, when we get to the Q&A, please make sure that you use the microphone and also state your name and where you're from. Okay? So here's Wade.
Hey, good evening. All right, is this all working? Okay, good. All right. The reason that I got put here is because I've been an IT professional for 15 plus years. So that's where that's from. Now, if you are an IT professional, then don't pay any attention. Do whatever you want to. When I talk to people and try to give them help, the first thing that I generally run into is that they have lots and lots of stuff going on their laptop that are not helpful, and they're having problems. And the machine's locked up, it won't boot, these kind of things. And what I tell them is, hey, what are you doing? So the question that I always start with is, would you let your grandchildren play their Disney records on your Hilton 300? And they go, well, no, that's an expensive piece of calling equipment. I wouldn't do that. I said, then don't let your inner child play on your laptop, because it's an expensive piece of calling equipment. And when you treat it like calling equipment, it'll behave like calling equipment. And if you've got it on the internet, then you're going to get viruses and all sorts of fun stuff. So the thing I tell them to do is get yourself a nice laptop and use that. And get your crappiest laptop and put Windows XP on it and just SqView and just enough, and take everything else off of it. So that being said, there's things that you can do for the laptop to make it behave better. You can take, and first thing I do is uninstall every program except for the one that I'm going to use, which is I use SqView. And from the control panel, you can go add and remove programs, and you'll find that I don't have any. The next thing that I always do is turn off the system sounds. If you go into the control panel, sounds, I can't see my own mouth. Up. Sounds. Then you can take and go under sounds, and you choose no sounds. That way, when you're at a convention or whatever, and you have your machine plugged up and you have to reboot it, you can talk to them while it's booting, and you don't get this ding, 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 running, and that's a horrible thing. And you also don't get the poo when something bad happens. There's lots of system sounds that you should take off, and it'll take and make your dance a lot better. There are ways to adjust the volume on the laptop. You should pay attention to them. Down on the lower right-hand corner, there's the volume here.
What does that volume look like? Because the people listening to the tape can't see that.
It's on the lower right-hand corner of the screen where the button you push on that looks like a little speaker. Now, with different systems, you need different volume levels. On a Hilton 300, then it's expecting a microphone level. It wants a really, really small signal. If you hit it with a high signal, if you've got this turned up high, then what's going to happen is it's going to overdrive the preamp and stomp on all your highs. So you're going to muddy up your sounds, and it's not going to sound well. So you really want to turn this down just as low as you can and still get good sound if you're going into a Hilton. If you have a different system, it's different. I've got amplifiers that are looking for line level, and then I run at a higher level on those. So you'll have to adjust according to what you're playing into. Most people seem to use the Hilton stuff, so you're going to want your sounds down. the multiple places that you can adjust it. Here's one of the places. The other places in the software itself, you can change this volume. Now, I see people grinding on these like crazy. If you are doing a dance and you're calling on your laptop, what you can do is you can, as you're doing a song, and you go, hey, this song's not loud enough, take and come in here into the software and change this level where it says volume here, and then click on the save button. This little looks like a floppy disk.
He's talking about SqView, okay? Not all programs work within the player program to do what he's saying. So you still would have to work with that speaker area just from what's coming out of your computer. And then if you don't, usually in 9 times out of 10, don't go beyond 50% of that bar that he showed you earlier. You're going to be on the safe side. Then you can adjust either down some, or if you need more, you can go up some, so that you're not boosting this particular thing. Over here, if you can see my hand on this 300, you surely don't want to be up here at 12 o'clock trying to play your music. If you are, then you're not using this little sound control that's on the taskbar of your computer. Now, in this SqView, he also has another place that he can up that as well. Some other people may have some other things that they use, maybe Winamp or something of that nature that might do that. I'm not as familiar with that. But you definitely don't want to have that up there. So you're going to have to do an adjustment here to get this down a little bit so you're not really driving this. That's what we're saying.
Right. The other piece is that if you take and balance out the song in the program, SqView or whatever, then you can save that particular song at that level. So then when you go do the dance, you don't have to constantly bring your levels up and down. You can set it at the first of the dance and then play the rest of the dance and not have to jockey your volume on the Hilton. And that's fairly cool. The internet, the laptop, they come with wireless internets and wired internet, and they will attempt to connect up to a wireless internet. Okay? If they do that, that takes a lot of your CPU time. It can cause it to kick up screens. Hey, do you want to do this? And you're trying to do a dance, and right in the middle of it, all your controls go away because it's got some other, the focus is on another panel. So that's not a great thing. And if you are connected to the internet, then you are exposed to risk. You need to be an IT professional so that you can manage these risks. If you're going to just, if you have yourself a laptop that you can go to the internet with, and what I do is I've got this really cheap, really old Celeron processor that I run as my primary machine. My better computer has the exact same software, but it also has access to the internet, and I can do my email, and I can do everything on it. If this machine fails, I pull the other one out and go, okay, I'm on this one now. So I have backup redundancy. See where I'm having it. So turn off the internet. So turn off the internet. So there's several ways that you can turn off the internet. You can turn it off. There's a right click on the internet and turn it off, which it's not on this one because this one's been turned off a different way. Mine's turned off. Mine won't be coming back. If you go into the control panel and you start looking at devices from your control panel devices, device manager, it's under administrative tools in Windows XP. That's not my computer. It went boop. It was somebody else's. It's the microphone. I banged into the microphone. I get in here very seldomly.
Services and applications.
I don't. It's the device manager is what I'm looking for.
Go up about 4 lines.
4 lines. There it is. Anyway, so in device manager, you'll notice on this one that I've got all sorts of things that are turned off. These are disabled.
And why, for the tape services, why are they disabled? They have some kind of marking there?
Yeah, you can see, if you see the red X on there, the red X says that this thing is dead. It has been turned off. It's not uninstalled. If you uninstall it, it will, on the next boot, reinstall itself and try to configure and give you all sorts of grief. So what I've got is under the properties of it, it is uninstalled. It is disabled. And when you disable it, you're telling it, I don't want to hear from you no more. Go away, leave me alone. Do not use this device, period. So this particular laptop has no network, it has no wireless, it has no what are these things, it has no lots of stuff. So anything that I don't need to play music, I disable. When you disable them, make notes of what you're doing. Take and write down a note. Take and write a list and say, here's how I got to where I was step by step. And then the name of the process that you turned off. And then play with it and see if it still functions the way you want it to. Then go, okay, that one's okay. And then make another list and go to the next one. You can take all of these things out. You can also Google them. If you take and have a Broadcom 802.11b/G WAN and you don't know what that means, you Google it and it'll tell you what it is. And then you read that and go, I don't think I need that. Disable it. See how that works out for you. And you can take and make the machine boots a whole lot faster. This machine was about 6 years old when I bought it 4 years ago. So it's about a 10-year-old computer. They say that a laptop has a life expectancy of about 3 years. So this is a dinosaur. It will boot in about 45 seconds, including loading the software for running the Windows. So if I have a problem, I can reboot the machine while talking to the crowd. In about 45 seconds, I can kill that much time telling jokes and whatever. So I can clear myself up. Operating systems, it doesn't really matter what operating system that you use. I tend to stay with the one that's on the laptop because the drivers are already available. You know that they're available, and I have taken new laptops and tried to put Windows XP on them and find that there's no video driver, and it just gives me heck. And sometimes it's just not worth the trouble to try to change. If you can find an older laptop, Windows XP is fine. It's great, and there's lots of stuff you can turn off, and it doesn't have any of the new things on it. Windows 7 and Windows 8, from my understanding, I haven't played with 8 a whole lot, they're not as happy turning off the gadgets and the gizmos.
Greg Anderson of Colorado. Is it true on XP, since you're not going to use it for the internet, you're not going to use it for email, because XP is no longer going to be supported in the fairly near future, that probably doesn't matter, I assume. You can have an old computer with XP if you're just using it for your music and everything would work fine. Is that a true statement?
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true.
Quick show of hands. How many of you in the room have ever called Microsoft for help on something? Okay, about a third of you. Okay, I see some thumbs down, right?
They did it. They didn't like it.
If you're not going to call them anyway, it doesn't matter if it's still supported or not. If they're answering the phone, answering those questions. If you're going to use the same thing for the same box, if it works, it's going to continue to work. Don't touch it. Don't break it. It's fine.
That's exactly the point. If you set it up one time and make it where you can't get to the internet, it doesn't install anything new, it doesn't update, it doesn't change. If it doesn't change, tomorrow it'll be exactly like it is today. And that means that it's going to continue to run until I have hardware failure. And that's apparently a long time, because this is a 10-year-old machine and still doing fine. Laptop failures. What causes laptop failures? Viruses. That's number one. People get viruses. Somebody sends you an email, you open up an attachment, and you didn't realize that now you have a virus. You go, but I have an antivirus program. Well, did it update? If it's not updating, it ain't no good. Also, it's called zero-day attack. That's where he writes a virus. He gives it to Johnny Wedge. Johnny Wedge sends me an email. Now I got a virus. The only people that know about the thing is Johnny Wedge, me, and him. The antivirus company has not seen it. They've never seen the thing. They have not written anything to take care of this. So the fact that you have an antivirus program on your computer does not mean that that makes you totally safe and secure and wonderful and life is grand. It's not. It makes it better. Malware. that software that gets installed when you say, hey, I'm going to install this, and it says, hey, do you want Google Chrome installed too? Do you want this other thing installed? And you don't know to check it off, or it installs in the background and doesn't ask. There's lots of that goes on. Elf Bowl, it's a game people send around during Christmas. It's got malware in the background that loads on it when you run that program. It loads you up with malware. That takes CPU time. CPU time means that you're going to have problems. It means that you're going to have computer lags. If you get enough malware, then you're playing a song and it just hiccups in the middle. It just pauses and then takes off, and you're like, what happened to that? Well, it may be malware in the background running. You get CPU up at a zillion %, and you're like, what happened? What is it running? If you don't have extra stuff on the computer, you don't have that. Use a second computer. You can use the cheapest piece of junk that you got to play the music on. It doesn't take much. It takes very little computer. You can't buy a computer off of somebody that's throwing it away that won't run this stuff, because everything that's even being thrown away today is new enough to run these programs.
How do you find out how your RAM is running? I mean, where do you find that out at?
That's sort of a geeky thing, and Barry would know exactly how much is on his because he's into doing those kind of things. But for everybody else, if you just hammer out the program so you're not running things that you don't know, and you can check in the services and see what services are running, and that is kind of geeky, but you can do it, and I do, and blow out the services, disable services. When you do disable, when you're doing services,
Where do you find services?
services are under the control panel, or you can right-click My Computer, and it's Administrative Tools, Services. Now, services is a place that you can actually brick the machine. And that means you can turn it into a brick. It won't do anything. It's good for a paperweight. But you can reinstall the operating system and fix that. If you're going to come in here, and you'll notice that there's a string of services here, and you'll notice that under startup type it says disabled. There's boatloads of disabled.
We should notice that Wade is a pro at doing this, and he knows what each of these individual things mean and which ones he can turn on and off like a surgeon. Most of the rest of us, we don't know that.
So let me tell you how to become a surgeon. Here's how this is done. These have 3 states available. One is, there's actually 4. One of them is, when we click properties, one of them is disabled, one of them is automatic, and one is manual. So that's 3. All right. So they will come automatic or manual. You'll find them in those 2 states. The manual ones, I did a right click on any service that I'm considering getting rid of. When I right clicked it, I get a list of stuff, and down at the bottom, towards the bottom, it says properties. We click on properties, and then in the middle of it, you can see the startup type. Now, if you're considering turning off services, and I suggest you consider turning off all of the services, what you do is you take and turn it from manual or automatic. You turn it, you leave it on the manual or automatic, and you can take and, if you right-click the service before you do anything, you can see where it says start, stop, pause, resume, those kind of things. So just click on stop and stop the service. If it's one of those services that, man, you got to have, let's see if I can find one of those. This one, yeah, this one is the HID, Human Input Device, HID, Input Service. That's the one that lets the mouse work or the keyboard, kind of important. If we stop that service, it'll stop it, and then strange things will stop working. When you find things don't work, you can come back and start it, or you can reboot the machine. Rebooting the machine starts all these services back up if they're still in the manual or automatic mode. All right, once you have stopped a service and you've paid attention and you go, hey, this is working out okay, then you can disable the thing. Make plenty of notes of what you've done, and then you can take and do these things. And if you If you look at one of these, Google is your friend. Okay, if you type this service name in, it'll come back with a wiki that'll tell you exactly what it is. Some of it will be Greek, a lot of it will be. But read through it, skim through it, and see if you get the gist of, hey, that's the human input device. Oh, maybe I ought to leave that alone. That's why I left it alone. I went, human input device. Sounded like something I should leave alone. Okay. Battery failure, not plugging the thing in. Sometimes you get a laptop, and I'm going to turn this one around for you so that you can see the front, because it doesn't, on the screen, does not help. If you've got a laptop and you're playing along and you're doing your songs and life is good and you're happy, and something happens that makes this come out, your dance is going to be short-lived.
That was the power cord you just unplugged from.
Yeah. For the people on the tape, if your power plug gets unplugged or doesn't get plugged in to start with, bad things will happen to you. So telling you to, hey, make sure you take and plug that in, that's not real helpful. But on the computer, there is going to be some blue writing on the top, or F keys, like the F1, F2, F3. And that's you use the function, which is the blue one, or sometimes it's blue. It's down the lower left-hand corner. You press function and that key, and you can change the brightness of the screen. And my suggestion is to take and unplug the thing and turn the brightness as dim as possible, so that it's as dark as you can get it. And then plug it in and bring the brightness back up to whatever you like. Then when it gets unplugged, the screen goes dark. Can you see the difference in that one? When you're calling along and you look and you go, I can't see it. What's going on? You go, wait a minute, are we still plugged in? And when you get it plugged back in, the light comes back on. And that'll keep you from having unexpected battery outage, which has happened to me twice. Slow laptops. Why does it take and run slow? Extra baggage programs running. Adobe. If you have Adobe Reader, those are excess baggage for older laptops. It causes more weight. iTunes, Apple, AOL, it's extra baggage. Toolbars installed, the Bing, the Yahoo, Google. Let's listen to Barry for a little bit.
All right. Wade's just described, how do I want to say this? Extreme caretaking of your machine. Those are the levels to which you can go if you want to really strip things down and make it a racing machine intended for a single purpose. I've got to be honest, I don't do all that. I don't. Generally, I take them out of the box and I use them just the way that they are. I am a little careful about some of the extra software that gets installed, and I take off the pieces that I don't use. But that's pretty much it. Some of the things, should probably mention some things about new versions of Windows that might come in handy. I would love to show you my screen up with the projector.
Yes, we can.
But this particular laptop is a skinny one, and it does not have the right type of connector for me to plug into the projector. So those that want, I imagine a little bit later in the session, we'll just kind of get off the microphone and start taking questions. We'll be able to look at things up close and personal.
Okay, while he's working on that, Okay, well, hey, we're working that for you, buddy. Okay, and
Very good. So we're off the wireless microphone for the moment. Windows 8. How many of you guys have just bought a laptop recently and you got Windows 8? I see one over here. Okay. Another one there.
I'm still on.
There are a few things about Windows 8 that will drive experienced users crazy. And the first one is that the start button that you use to start all your programs is gone. I will move my computer. Here, I'll just close the lid. Done. Start button is gone in Windows 8. Microsoft's research said, well, people don't use it anymore. They pin things to the taskbar, or they use the icons on the desktop. I don't know where they got that research from, but all the people I talk to, it drives them absolutely nutty. All right, so the best thing you can do for Windows 8, if you're an experienced Windows user, download an application that puts that start button back on. The one that I use is named ClassicShell.net. ClassicShell.net. Download it, install it, it's free. It gives you the start button. Life is good once again. Okay.
Barry, does that also work if your computer is a touchscreen?
It also works if your computer is a touchscreen. Okay. It's well worth the investment of $0 to put that on. I put it this way: I was ready to take my new laptop back to Best Buy where I got it, until I put this on, and finally, for me, it became the difference between really being able to be productive with it versus fighting Windows 8 all the time. Other little things that some folks haven't been aware of. First, as Wade mentioned, wireless networking on these computers does get in the way of playing sounds, does get in the way of playing music. I know a number of callers that have been to various places and they hear skips in their music. Their song's going along and it pauses for a moment, cuts out for a moment, and then it starts again. And most of the time, that's due to a computer trying to hook up to a wireless network. Now, many of you may have phones that you know how to put into an airplane mode and get it turned off. You can do that now with these Windows 8 computers really easy. Here's the trick. You swipe your mouse or your finger in from the right side towards the center of the screen. I wish I could see this on the projector. But it brings up this list of charms, they're called, a little toolbar over on the right edge of the screen. So I swiped my finger in from the right towards the center. That pulled the charms out. There's a settings charm down at the bottom. Boom, I pressed settings. And there's in the upper left, or towards the bottom of settings, and those that want to can come up and see this close and up front, you'll find that there's a thing that looks like the signal strength meters, the different bars on a phone. That's the wireless setting. You click on that, and it's real easy. There's an airplane mode at the top or a Wi-Fi mode. Turn it on and off. Done. That solves all those kinds of problems with the wireless things. Outside of that, the other thing that I've seen is, to be honest, I don't ever turn off my computer. I will pause it. I will hibernate it. I will put it to sleep, but I don't ever actually shut it down, except maybe once a month. Okay? And you'll see, basically there's a way, and we can get into it with those that you want. You can program the power switch on your machine, so when you press the power, it actually just does what's called a hibernate, kind of writes itself, it puts itself to sleep, turns the power off, but doesn't shut down the operating system all the way so that it starts up much faster. Chuck, a question. The question is why?
You have to give him the microphone. Okay. Right. You all have to use the microphone, say who you are, please, where you're from, and then give us our question. And Barry
Chuck Zaworski, Chicago, Illinois. Why?
Wade showed how he was able to shut down his computer. It turns the operating system off. Things really go to sleep. And on his system, with all of the work he did to trim away fat, trim away pieces that aren't used, his system will then start back up again from scratch in about 45 seconds. Newer laptops, particularly those with Windows 8, will also start in about that same amount of time if you need it. But if you do this hibernate thing, you find that they'll start in more like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. That's much faster, okay? And it's just fine. So I could explain the technical reasons how it works, why it works for anybody that really cares, but the big difference is it's faster.
The other thing that I would like to mention is this is Windows 7 here, and if you notice in the right-hand corner next to the on the taskbar, there's that's the internet right there, your signal to get the wireless. As you can see that it has an X there. I did not go into the device manager, which I could have done, as Wade said earlier, but I have the F function key where I can hit the F, it's called FN, and on this computer it happens to be F8. And hopefully it works. It should go away, but anyhow, that's what I need to hit.
What Bill is pointing out is that every laptop that's built out there that has wireless networking has a switch on the radio, an on-off switch on the actual wireless radio itself. For some computers, it's a physical switch on the machine. On my Dell computer at home, there's a little sliding switch on the side of it.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. On an HP, there's a sliding switch. On some computers, it's a physical button up on the top. Again, some HPs are like that. Acers have a button. Many computers lately have switched to using a software key to do that. And many of the times you'll find an icon that looks like a radio antenna, a radio mast with waves coming out from the sides. Okay, that's the wireless thing, on and off. And you can simply turn that off. On mine, it's a simple key press, and that shuts the wireless down. It's over. Okay? Then when you get it home and it doesn't work, and you want to know why your wireless isn't working, you have to remember to turn it back on. Or if there's a physical switch on the side of the box, sometimes you've got to remember to go turn that switch back on again. I was traveling in New Zealand a couple of years ago, staying in a hotel. The hotel manager knew that because we'd been chatting, knew that I did some computer stuff. A day into our stay, he comes knocking on the door of our room. Thump, thump, thump. I've got a guest. Her computer doesn't work. Could you look at it? Well, he brought it over, and all it was, the physical wireless switch had gotten bumped from the position. We moved the switch, click. Computer's all better. Life is happy. They went away. Bill, do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay. We've talked about hardware. We've talked about operating systems. We can, if you wish, we can talk about the caller software that's out there. I think we've got a couple of different examples that we can take a look at.
Okay. You want to take off on that, or you want me to start?
Go ahead and start.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do. I have one is called SqMP3 Gold, which is developed by Dave Wilson. That just happens to be the one that I use. Okay. It basically has the 3 panes here. Now, things are a little squished up here to fit on this particular small computer, okay? But normally it's much more visible. And these little things that you see me tabbing through here on the left-hand side of this particular screen is a name called Favorites. I can create a folder for everything I want to do. I can create a folder for Monday night's dance. I can create it for Tuesday night dance. I can give it a date, and then next week I'll know what I did that dance. I happen to have mine in different things like road songs, caller colleges, club dance. That's everything. My club dance is everything I have. Okay, so it kind of looks like this. The coloring that you see through the panes here, there's 3 panes. The left side here that I'm showing on the far left-hand side is called patter, and on the middle one is called singing calls. And then on the right, that's the actual MP3s that I have. And this here, I can do anything I want to. I'm going to hit the delete button and see what happens. Darn, I really wanted to get rid of that song too. But it won't go anywhere. Now over here, anything that I create, these are just name markers. That's all it is. Okay? So if I don't want to have this particular song in here, I can delete this. It'll ask you if I really want to do that and progress through that. It's always over here, so if I want to bring it back, all I got to do is find it again and slide it back over again. If I want to create a new, here's like all my ESP songs that I have. I only have a couple. So, you know, but basically what I did here is just kind of have all this stuff here, you know, just for some reason. Festival songs are songs that we do with in you know, duets and things like that. Some name it duets. You can name anything you want to. It's very easy to transfer these over. If I right click here, I can say new, and I can give it a name. Okay, and then hit return, and everything's clear. Okay, if I want to go through here, I happen to keep all of my, for me, MP3s in one file. I know if it's a hoedown because after it'll say that. If it's an alternative piece of music, it's pretty obvious. You know, it's going to have a full name and maybe a remix next to it or something of that nature. But if I wanted to go ahead and create these very easily, I can create them super fast. I mean, I'm going to have to put this down to do this. You need it? Okay, great, thanks. So I would just go ahead and I would come on my MP3 column here, which is the far right-hand column. This is a hoedown, so I would just hold it and drag it all the way over here to the far left and drop it into the patter. It's going to ask me if I want to do this. The reason it's asking me if I want to continue is because I have sorted already checked. Okay, so that means it's going to make it alphabetical order automatically. And this is a singing call here, I know that. And I just go like this, and I can create my dance that night right there if I want 5 or 6 songs or whatever. In order to access these, I just highlight, okay, and for this particular program, it may be similar to the SqView. Just by pushing this particular space bar down, it plays the patter record, okay? I don't know if you're going to hear it or anything, but it does work. And then over here, if I want this singing call to play, oh, there it goes. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. A little bit, okay. And then if I want to play the singing call, all I have to do is have it highlighted, and I'm ready to go. And all I do is stop is the same bar, space bar, and control space bar plays the singing call. Okay? You hear it playing? Okay. And then if I want the words, then hopefully it'll work properly. And there's the lyrics right there. Okay? And I just hit an F12 key for that. If I want to go back to the front, as I call it, the front of the player, I just hit F11, and I'm at the front, and I can see what's happening. Notice up here in the center section here, let's see, like here, this is my tempo here, and I can speed this up or slow it down. I can change the pitch too by doing the same, using these F3 keys and so forth like that. So it's a pretty unique little thing. I also can bring in other stuff from other places into this same window here, right here that I'm showing you. I can bring in choreography if I wanted to very easily. SqView works a little differently, but if I wanted to go in here and I don't know what I got here, but let's just say we do this here. Okay, and let's just do this like this, bam, bam, bam. Whatever I want to bring in, I can do that, okay? And it'll show up in the window, okay? And then all I got to do is, if I'm calling, I can just page down. See, I have a touch screen now, the computer I use most of the time. This is my backup one. You all do have backups, right? Great. And this is my backup, so this is the one I use the least. But in the touch screen, all I got to do is touch the screen, page through if I want to. So that's how I use this. For this particular program. Also has a looping factor here. For the patter record, it's automatic. It's 15 seconds into the song, 15 from the end. But if I want to change it, I can. So if I do this here, I can just go up to the looping here. And on the far left-hand corner is the looping process. Okay? And that you can learn later on in life. It's pretty easy to use. But if you look over here to where the song is playing in this area here, it's going to tell me that I'm going to loop at 4:07. So 4 minutes and 7 seconds into the song, that's where it's going to start to return. And this process over here, I can change that. I can make it anywhere I want to within the song. Okay? On the singing call, if I play the singing call, at the very, very bottom, you'll notice this appears. Opener, first figure, second figure, middle, third, fourth, and the closer. So as I'm calling, for some reason that I just kind of like lost track of time, I can always look at that bar very quickly and kind of know where I'm at, which is really a nice feature too. Okay. Any questions? Great. Can you guys go into the SqView? I got to get a microphone to him. Thank you.
Septi Rogers from Cary. When you're done setting up a record like that, like a singing call, and you get it at the right pitch, and where you have it, it's comfortable, it's the right speed, and everything, can you save it?
It saves automatically. As soon as you stop and start it again, it's there.
So when you get to the dance, you don't have to do anything but play it?
That is correct. Until
Awesome.
the next time you change it again. So it'll stay that way for 20 years if you never change it. Absolutely.
Any other questions on this one? Let's just switch over. Let's plug back into Wade. Let's plug into your system there.
There you go.
This program we're going to take a look at is SqView. It's available for free from Thomas Bernhed in Sweden. SqView.se for Sweden. Basically, it's about all of these programs pretty much do the same thing when it comes to fundamentally playing and using music. They all will let you adjust tempo and pitch. This particular one uses these bars up there. They all will show you lyrics as you go ahead. Go ahead and start one of your singing calls, Wade. He double-clicked on a song there, and do you push this? I guess you have to press you like pressing the play button automatically, don't you?
Here's the reason why. Here's what I do. Okay, so using SqView, I take, and I do not have it set to automatically launch, and I pick a patter song. I'm going to do All Tuckered Out, and then the singing call, I right-click the singing call, and it puts it right in here.
It cues it up to play right after.
Cues it up to play, all right? Then the next thing I do, and this is right after I finish the tip, I click on this little teacup, and it's a timer. It's a countdown timer. It counts down for 5 minutes, and when it gets to the end of the 5 minutes, it will do whatever you've asked it to do. There is settings for that. Here's the auto start, and I'm not positive where the settings are on that. I think they're under one of these.
It's under the options menu. But
it's in the options menu. Yeah. So anyway, under the options,
it's okay. You don't have to show.
You can set it, and what it does is it launches my active song, whatever's here, which is the patter for me. And the things that I like about it, if I don't have a round dance cuer and I want my breaks to be 5 minutes, and I go out in the crowd and start shaking hands and talking to people, some of the people I have a hard time getting away from because they just want to talk to me, and that happens. When this is set up like this, the music starts, boom. They know that that means that the dance is starting and that I'm done, that our conversation's over. And it kills the conversation like you wouldn't believe. And then I say, oh, I got to work. And I go up on the stage. And they know what happened, and there's no apology needed. I don't have to do anything. Now, the next thing that I do, so I do my patter, and the song plays all the way to the end, and I get done. Then on the keyboard, because I have my singing call already queued up, I don't have to look at the computer and go, where's my next singing call that I'm going to do? I just press the K button. When I press K, it goes ahead and launches my singing call. All right? Now, don't be afraid to take and put stickers on your keyboard. They're real handy. So I know which ones that I want to use. because the E slows it down, the R speeds it up, the K plays the next song in the list that happens to be up there in this list. It'll launch that one and take it out of the list. The space bar takes and stops or starts a song. So if you're doing whatever song it is, and I also have it take and go to the space bar will pause it. It's good for lessons when you're teaching and you have the music and you stop. Now we're going to do this, and then you put the music back on. The Y key ends, but it fades out. If you listen, it's a real professional way of ending the patter. So you're at the patter and you're calling along and you press the Y and about a partner, they're going to all, and the song fades off. So there are a list of these, and it's on the program. When you go in there and you look under the options, you can actually change them if you want to. You can put them wherever you want them. But the more important, they can go through the list and read them, because you'll go, ooh, there's a key that does that. I never thought of that, and I would like to use that. Just read them. It's a great place to learn.
So generally, I think the message that we want to give you is that there's several choices of software you can use. We've happened to look at a couple of them. They all do, when it comes to playing music, showing cue sheets, and so on, they pretty much all do that. They all do the same things: changing tempo, changing pitch, showing cue sheets. Have break timers. They show you that this particular one has the little bar along the bottom with, so you know where you are. They're all about the same. Paul Hensey, question.
Paul Hensey, I've bought new music. It's got lyrics. It's not in his program. What I do to put lyrics in?
In the case of SqView, the lyrics typically arrive as a separate document. There's two ways you can do it. You can either take the lyrics that they provide you and save them in the special place where all the lyrics are on your computer. On Wade's computer here, it looks like it's in his C drive, in a folder called SqView, in a folder called Text, right alongside 12,000 other pieces of music.
And when you open it, it will take a while, because it's looking at all those.
There are other ways that you can do this inside of SqView too. Wade, do you mind going back to your front one?
And in the meantime, on the SqMP3 Gold, you go right to SqMP3 Gold folder, and you open it up, and it'll be a folder. It says lyrics, and that's where you store them.
That's where you store it.
So similar operation. Just want to let you know they're pretty close.
Let's go to, Wade, if you could go to Tools for me, please. And go down to cue sheets. There we are. For cue sheets where you didn't get a file that comes with it, in this program as well as in the others, you can basically invent your own cue sheet.
That was my break timer timed out.
Oh, your 5 minutes was up, was it?
5 minutes is up, absolutely.
All right. You mind pausing that for me there?
I would love to. I would love to, if I could figure out what it's... Oh, I got this open.
There we go. Now, once again for me, if you could go to Tools and Cue Sheets. Tools and Cue Sheets. You basically can build the cue sheet however you wish, tell it to save, and it'll save it in the format that you wish. So a couple different ways to deal with things that come. Tools and then Cue Sheets. The Tools menu, Cue Sheets, takes you to this form right here. And this lets you put in the figures that you like. In this case, it's got room for an opener, it's got room for a figure, it's got a middle break and a closer. You can put taglines, additional lyrics over here, information about the label that it's on, and so on. And also, one thing I like, on this one, it's got a 1-column versus 2-column display. Most of our laptops these days are coming out with screens that are wider than they used to be. And if you use the 2-column layout, it will basically show you two sets of things side by side. You don't have to do as much vertical scrolling as you wish. Well, I'll repeat the question. It's okay. The question was, If we're inventing a new cue sheet from scratch here, if we don't have a file that's been delivered to us by the record producer, then yes, we would be going to Tools, Cue Sheets, and typing our own from the beginning here. Okay, so we've got it, okay, here, signaling for the microphone.
Wayne Weston from Texas. I also cue rounds and do line dances and contras, and I have each of those types of music in a different folder within SqView, and I can pull them up. But I also have typed out the cue sheets for the lines even and things, and I've saved them as an HTML folder and loaded those into the text file and then linked them up so that they all come up also. And it works great. But you have to save them as HTML or it won't work. Well, it will on the new one, I guess. You can do it in some other formats. But on the older version of SqView, it has to be in HTML.
And I don't want to get into this program will do this or that will do another, but just one quick reference specifically for that. Wade, would you close this Cue Sheets form for me, please? And click on this Change Level. It turns out that you can actually have the cue sheets for that SqView will display be different cue sheets for any type of level. What's more, you can use these levels any way that you want. So if you wanted, for example, to have one set of cue sheets for phase 2 and a different set for phase 3, you can do that with the change level right here. Yeah. So other programs that are out there, Digital Music Magician is a program out there. Virgil, would you have anything you'd like to tell us about Digital Music Magician?
Virgil Forbes, Maryland. I've been using DMM literally since Bill Heyman put it out, and you've already said it. The functionality between programs is identical. They all do the same thing. DMM has a very different screen setup. It only shows one library at a time, but it's set up so you can take subsets of that library without doing anything other than a single click. Okay, my squares, patterns, rounds, miscellaneous are all in a different subset, and I can display I can display all of the subsets simultaneously. I find that very flexible. The other thing is all of my cue sheets are in Microsoft Word doc files. And I can tie any cue sheet to any piece of music. It's a little more cumbersome sometimes, but once it's there, it's really there. The key usage, similar, of course, on DMM, F is the fade key, P is the pause key, the space turns on and off, same kind of functionality. With any of these programs, it's just a matter of find somebody who's got them, or DMM, you can download a full-powered that will last for 30 days or 30 uses, and you can play with it and see how does it work, how does it fit what you want to do, play with the keys, and I think SqView does the same thing. Of course, it's a free program anyway. Download 2-3 different programs, play with them, see which you like. I did that with SqView, MP3 Gold, and DMM, and it just so happened that DMM suited me better. If you haven't used it, come see me. It's on the laptop that I'm carrying with me. I'm one of those, my laptop is my primary computer for all uses. I know, okay. On the other hand, I have my old laptop is a complete musical duplicate of the primary laptop. So if anything goes wrong, it's in the car, plug it up and go. And I buy my computers for 4 years because I buy the all-hazard, all-accident replacement insurance. 4 years is all they'll do that for. And when the insurance runs out, I buy a new computer with new insurance.
Thank you. We've got another question here.
Wendy Vandermeulen from Ottawa, Canada. It's not a question, it's just two comments. My husband uses DMM. Your computer must not run on Windows 7.
Yes.
It does. Because when I got a laptop and started using DMM, it would not work. And we talked to Hanhurst, and it would not work, and they couldn't figure out what it was, so I switched to SqView. That's one thing. The other thing about SqView, I mean, it's great. It works for me. I bought a new laptop about a year ago, switched all my files, copied everything over to SqView. It didn't save any of the pitch changes, the speed changes, anything. So every time I went in to use a new file, I had to readjust the pitch, I had to readjust the auto, like the loop, the stop and the start, the speed, the whole thing. It didn't carry any of that over. It just reverted back to however the song came originally. Don't ask me how that did that. But that's what happened. And I still haven't worked my way through all of my music to adjust it to what I wanted it to be.
Barry, is that due to the INI file as for her situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've had no problem with Windows 7 with DMM. I had a real problem with Windows Vista. Matter of fact, Bill and I worked several times to work several of the workarounds for Windows Vista. It still doesn't work well under Vista, but it works well with Windows 7.
Johnny Wedge.
I don't know if you're interested. If you've got time and you want to see it, I've got DMM on my computer. I could put it up there. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, we have about...
yeah, you only got about 15 minutes left, yeah. Okay.
Q&A is what I'd like to see. We have about 12 minutes to go. So
Okay.
If we want to answer any question that you have,
We can talk briefly about the issue with SqView. Usually that problem came up as people switched from the older version to the new version, the 2 panels on the bottom to the 3 panels type of thing. And there's a way to tell it to go look at the old files and pick up all those settings and put them into the new program. So we can take a look at that. Yes, let me pass the microphone to you.
But Barry, is it as simple to explain it over here so that people on the tape service would know if that happened to them, or would it be something that you would suggest for them to contact SqView creator and say, hey, how do I do this?
The answer is that it's simple to do, but I don't remember off the top of my head how I'd have to spend 30 seconds looking it up. So what I was just going to ask.
Okay. Yeah, because for the people on this tape that are not here, or even these people
Let's
here,
spend 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Wade, could you go to the File menu for me, please? I forget if it's under File or Tool. There it is, Import from old version of SqView.
If he clicked that now with...
So he clicked the File menu, Import from old version of SqView, and then you tell it where on the computer the old version was. It's on another computer. Then what you'd have to do is pick up the files here for, like this C:\SqView directory, and put a copy of it on your new computer. So,
can I make
we can. Usually, the program is installed in this C:\SqView directory. If you copied all of that onto a thumb drive and then plug that into your new machine, then you could point at that thumb drive where it is and tell it where those old settings are.
Yes, you could do it that way. Yeah, if you put it on your computer, and then you'll overwrite. So what you would do is before you did, if you didn't have a thumb drive, I'm just trying to make this clear, that you would want to rename that maybe old after the SqView, and then you could copy that on over. Okay. And then you could take that, and then, am I correct? And then go ahead.
Yeah.
And that way you have the new version there. It says SqView, and then you have the same duplicate one that you want to get the information, but it says old, and you know the difference. You always want to do that on most anything that you want to transfer. Okay. Don't ever take them alike and start moving things around. Okay, because you're really going to create yourself a headache.
So the other program that I wanted to mention, just to kind of round out the family of software that's available, is a program from Vic Ceder by the name of CSDS, the Ceder Square Dance System. CSDS does the basic music functionality features, but it has incredibly strong support for building and maintaining choreographic modules at any level available. Vic, as we know, has become a repository for definitions at all the way up through C4, and he puts all of his own work into this program. And so if building and managing choreography is a big part of what you do, you may seriously want to consider something like CSDS.
And his player is a Winamp process, so
it's now built into the application. He doesn't need to use Winamp.
Oh, he doesn't. Okay, sorry. So he's changed that. Okay, thank you.
So I think that's pretty much all of the prepared material we have. We've been doing some question and answer. We've got about 5 minutes left. Anything else that we can handle for people?
You guys are good? No questions? Wow.
What we might do is go ahead if...
Right here. Wayne has one
over
here.
Wayne Weston from Texas again. On the older version of SqView, you could go and do a music list box. Can you do that on the new version?
On the older version of SqView, you could pop up a third window with a music list box. Yes, I believe you can on this one, although the third panel has sort of replaced that for most people. Instead of having the two on the front and then a third pop-up, they just use the third window for what they need. But yes, the other pop-up music list, I believe, is still there. Wade was just showing the playlist manager, the way you make up your list, a moment ago on the screen.
If you use the playlist manager, you can create a list of any kind that you want. Here's Emporia. You just take and add the songs across from your songs and then save it with whatever name that you want, and it'll save it into the same place that everything is. Then you can click over here and say, hey, I want to look at a playlist.
He just clicked on the leftmost toolbar button.
And you'll notice it's the blue one, not the yellow one. The blue one is the playlists. The yellow one is for folders, for your directories. And once you open that, it will take and bring up just the songs that are in the playlist. Now, here's an interesting thing. Playlists do not have to be alphabetical order. That's kind of cool, because I make my playlist in the order that I'm going to sing them. Then you notice that some of these are green. If I click this little red X, they'll all become not green. As I do the songs, they become green. And the beauty of that is that when I'm dancing along, I don't have to spend a lot of time figuring out what song I'm going to do next and which ones I've done. They're there. It just, as I use them, it doesn't like that one. Oh, I know what happened. That's an old playlist.
So what I might suggest we do here is go ahead and just take in the last couple minutes we've got before breaking for dinner, let's go ahead and probably end up off the microphone and dig out the laptops and show people and touch and feel individual questions.
Absolutely.
Is that permissible? Very good.
Absolutely it is. Okay. So we're going to end this by saying thank you guys so much for coming to Laptop Lane, and Wade, giving Wade a nice hand, and Barry a nice hand. It's been a pleasure. And, don't forget to fill out your CALLERLAB information for the seminars that you've enjoyed and so forth like that, because the EC will take the time to read every last one that comes in. I know I've been on that before, and it helps us decide, do we need to have this again in the future? Okay? So thank you very much.